The day she told me felt like a scene out of a cheap movie. We were sitting at our kitchen table, a simple pine and wrought iron piece I'd spent a Saturday afternoon assembling, and she was still wearing my engagement ring, the ring I'd worked months of overtime to buy. Jessica, my fiancée of 6 months and my girlfriend of 4 years, was telling me she was engaged to another man. Her high school ex, of all people. For a second, I thought the clatter of the ice maker had distorted her words. But no, Jessica was dead serious. 4 years together, 2 years living as a couple, 6 months engaged, and now she was telling me she'd found her true destiny with some guy from her past. The kitchen felt too quiet. The only sounds were the hum of the fridge and the soft tick of the clock on the wall. I could hear my own breathing, shallow, ragged. My stomach dropped, a cold, hollow feeling like I was back in the car accident that nearly took my life years ago. I felt the familiar shock, the inability to breathe. She sat across from me, eyes glistening with tears, but also carrying an expression I'll never forget. It wasn't guilt. It wasn't shame. It was excitement. A light in her eyes that seemed to say she honestly expected me to be happy for her. Like this was a rom-com, and I was just the unfortunate obstacle to her great love story. In her mind, this was fate. In mine, this was betrayal. I stared at the ring, the solitaire diamond I'd selected with such care. I remembered the saleswoman's kind smile, the nervous fumbling of my hands as I put it on her finger on that quiet evening. Back then, I thought it meant forever. Now, it glistened under our kitchen light like a cruel, twisted joke as she confessed she had already promised her future to someone else. You said yes. The question came out sounding foreign to my own ears. My voice was a gravelly whisper. You said yes to another man's proposal? Jessica nodded, her tears finally spilling over. She whispered that it just felt right, like fate had stepped in. She talked about history, about a connection she couldn't ignore. Her words blurred together, just excuses dressed as poetry. She spoke of destiny as if the last 4 years of my life had been some kind of warm-up act for her real love story. I could barely hear her anymore. My eyes stayed fixed on the ring, my hard work sparkling on her finger while she told me she had thrown it all away. I thought of the little moments, her laughing at my terrible pancakes, falling asleep on the couch during late-night movies, the way she kissed my forehead when I came home exhausted from overtime. Had all of it been nothing? Or had she already been halfway out the door while I was still dreaming about forever? The questions twisted in my chest like knives. Finally, my voice cut through, low and steady. Take off my ring. She looked shocked, confused, as if the concept of returning the ring was a strange demand. But I didn't waver. She slipped it off, her hand trembling. The small, gold band felt heavy and cold as she placed it on the table between us. I told her to pack her things and leave. That night was supposed to be the end of our story, but it wasn't. It was just the beginning. The kind of story where betrayal meets karma, and karma doesn't forget. My name is David. I'm a union electrician in Phoenix. I've never been rich, but I've always worked hard. The first time I met Jessica, it was at a friend's barbecue. We clicked right away. She was a physical therapist at a sports rehab clinic downtown, smart, confident, and with a kind of quiet charisma that drew people in. We weren't flashy, but we were steady. We lived in a modest 2-story house near the university that we'd spent weekends painting and furnishing. We talked about kids, family trips, building a future together. Our families seemed supportive, and my parents were already imagining the wedding. I truly believed we were solid. When we got engaged, my first thought wasn't about a flashy wedding. It was about stability. I started picking up every overtime shift I could. I wanted her to feel loved, secure, and cared for. My goal was simple: pay for as much of our wedding as possible. It wasn't a flashy proposal. I didn't fly her to Paris or rent a hot air balloon. It was just me, a simple ring, and a promise. But that promise meant everything to me. When she said yes, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. But love isn't just about what you build. It's about what the other person chooses to invest. And while I was investing everything into our future, Jessica was already cashing out. She had reconnected with Andrew, the quarterback from her high school. The golden boy. The guy everyone remembered. She swore it started as coffee, as catching up, as harmless nostalgia. But nostalgia can be dangerous. It can make you romanticize the past and forget the reality of the present. By the time she told me Andrew had proposed and she'd said yes, it was clear I hadn't just lost her. I'd lost 4 years of my life to someone who wanted a fairy tale. Jessica didn't want stability. She wanted a story, and she decided I wasn't in it. After she left, I gave her an hour to pack and leave while I drove around the city, the air conditioning blasting, trying to breathe again. When I came back, the house was empty. Her clothes were gone, but the scent of her perfume still lingered, a ghost of her presence in the hallway. I found a few bobby pins on the bathroom counter and a single earring on her nightstand. I picked it up, my thumb tracing the cold metal, a feeling of deep emptiness settling in. It was over, or so I thought. That's when her family began their campaign. Jessica's mom texted me, "True love always finds a way. Don't stand in the way of your daughter's happiness." Her dad called me immature, saying I needed to be a man and understand fate. The hypocrisy stung. The same man who toasted me at Thanksgiving, bragging to relatives that Jessica had found a man who'd always take care of her, now mocked me for refusing to bankroll her second engagement. Her family twisted the narrative until I felt like the villain. Jessica wasn't the betrayer anymore. I was, simply for saying no. I started to wonder if I had misread everything. Was I too boring? Too focused on work? Had I missed signs she was already gone long before she confessed? Those thoughts ate away at me in the dead of night. A month later, a text from an unknown number buzzed on my phone. My hands shook when I opened it, half thinking maybe she wanted to apologize. But no, Jessica wasn't sorry. She wasn't second-guessing. She was asking for money. Money for her wedding. The wedding she was planning with Andrew. The audacity was so profound it made me laugh, a short, humorless sound that felt foreign in the quiet of my house. Apparently, Andrew's construction business had cash flow problems, and they were about to lose their venue deposit. Jessica suggested I step in. Her reasoning? I was a good man who wouldn't want her to miss out on her destiny. My jaw dropped. Was she serious? But then more messages came. She asked if I could cover catering costs, if I'd sign a rental contract for lighting equipment because I had union discounts. Over and over, she framed it as though she was doing me a favor by letting me help. She wrote, "It would mean the world to me, David. You've always been so generous." Generous? No, this wasn't generosity she wanted. It was exploitation dressed as gratitude. She even mentioned the honeymoon once. "We just need a little help covering flights," she wrote, as if I'd happily fund a romantic getaway for her and the man who replaced me. The irony wasn't lost on me. I pictured myself wiring the lights for their reception, watching them dance under the glow I'd paid for, the guests smiling as if betrayal was a love story. I screenshotted the texts and sent them to my sister Megan, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. Her response was a single word: insanity. I blocked the number. She used another, then another. Each time, the same story: help her and Andrew with their big day. I finally snapped and wrote, "I will not be providing financial assistance or professional services for your wedding. Contact me again, and I'll take legal action." I thought that would be the end, but karma had bigger plans. During those months, I doubted myself more than I ever had in my life. It wasn't just heartbreak, it was profound humiliation. Jessica's parents called me selfish for not supporting her destiny. In their eyes, Jessica was brave for following her heart, and I was bitter for standing in the way. It was a twisted narrative that made me question my own reality. I spent sleepless nights replaying conversations, every laugh we shared, every silence. I was looking for cracks I should have noticed. Was I too boring? Too focused on work? Did I miss the signs? But the truth was simple. She chose drama over devotion, fantasy over reality, and I was left holding the pieces. The anger came in waves. Some days, I was furious at her. Other days, I was furious at myself. For not seeing it. For wasting years. For giving her my trust so easily. I'd catch myself clenching my fists, my jaw tight, just trying to keep it together. But Megan was my anchor. She never judged me. She let me vent, let me spiral, then pulled me back with one simple truth. "David, she made her choice. You didn't cause this. Stop carrying her mistakes like they're yours." That stuck with me. I realized anger could destroy me, or it could fuel me. And slowly, I decided to let it become fuel. Not for revenge. Not yet. But for rebuilding. For proving to myself that I was more than the man she abandoned. The first win came when I sold the engagement ring. It felt like ripping a bandage off. The jeweler didn't give me full price, of course, but I didn't care. I walked out with cash in my pocket and a plan. I used it to upgrade my tools. A new multimeter, specialized conduit benders, things I'd been putting off. Every time I picked them up at work, I reminded myself, this was what came out of that betrayal. My investment was in me now. Then I found Habitat for Humanity. Megan suggested volunteering, saying I needed something positive. She was right. There was something healing about wiring homes for families who needed them. Unlike my engagement, this had a purpose. Every line I ran connected someone to their future. It was work that mattered. And that's where I met Rebecca. She wasn't flashy. She didn't make grand speeches about destiny. She was steady. She coordinated volunteers with calm efficiency. She listened more than she talked. When she learned my story, she didn't pity me or try to fix me. She just listened. Rebecca never asked for grand gestures. She didn't need me to be a hero. She just wanted me to be myself, something Jessica never seemed satisfied with. At first, she was just a friend. Then coffee after builds. Then dinners. Nothing rushed, nothing dramatic. Just two adults, getting to know each other. With her, there was no pressure to perform. No fantasy to chase. Just real, steady companionship. It felt like the smallest victory, but also the biggest. I wasn't just surviving. I was moving forward. For the first time in months, I felt like the storm might be behind me. But I was wrong. Jessica's storm wasn't finished. 6 months later, karma made its move. My buddy Brian texted me one night, asking if I'd heard about Jessica and Andrew. I hadn't. I'd blocked them both everywhere. Brian called me. Dude, you're not gonna believe this, he said, his voice a mix of disbelief and morbid satisfaction. He told me that Prince Charming had turned out to be a nightmare. Andrew had been cheating on Jessica. Not once. Not twice. Multiple women. A couple of months after their wedding, Jessica found out and confronted him. The fight that followed got so bad the neighbors called the cops. There was even a bruise on her arm and a police report. Her perfect fairy tale had collapsed in one night. The same man her family called her destiny was now in a police blotter for domestic abuse. Their dream love story turned into a cautionary tale overnight. And then she turned back to me. It started with voicemails. Dozens. First apologies. Then explanations. Then desperate pleas. She wanted to meet. She wanted to talk. She wanted to rebuild. Each message sounded less like love and more like fear. Not fear of losing me, but fear of losing her safety net. She even showed up at my work one day. I was grabbing a coffee on my lunch break and saw her standing there, a pleading look on her face. I turned and walked in the opposite direction, my heart pounding in my chest. The final straw came when she showed up at my apartment. Rebecca was with me, sitting on the balcony with her coffee. Jessica knocked, eyes swollen, hair messy, looking like she hadn't slept. She begged to come inside, begged to talk. I kept it short. Jessica, I'm glad you're safe. I hope you get the help you need after what Andrew did. But we're done. That ended the night you said yes to someone else. She cried. She asked if 4 years meant nothing. She accused me of throwing it all away for someone I barely knew. And that's when it clicked. She didn't want me. She wanted her backup plan. I told her the truth. I'm not throwing anything away. You already did that. You made your choice. And now I'm making mine. I closed the door. On her, on our past, on the man I used to be. For the first time, I felt free. That night, sitting with Rebecca, I realized something I should have seen long ago. Jessica never loved me. Not really. She loved the life I could provide. The overtime shifts. The house near the university. The stability. I wasn't her partner. I was her insurance policy. And when she thought she'd found a shinier policy in Andrew, she cashed me out. Only when it collapsed did she remember what I was worth. But I wasn't going to be anyone's backup plan. Not anymore. I forgave Jessica, not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Forgiveness wasn't about letting her back in. It was about letting myself out of the prison of anger. Jessica tried one more time. This time, she brought her mother. They showed up at my door on a Saturday morning, both looking rehearsed, both carrying the weight of desperation. Her mom started speaking about forgiveness, about growth, about second chances. Jessica claimed therapy had made her realize her mistakes, that she now valued stability and loyalty. But her eyes gave her away. They weren't the eyes of a woman in love. They were the eyes of someone bargaining for security. I let them finish their speeches. Then I spoke. Jessica, you don't miss me. You miss the safety I gave you. That's not love. That's desperation. And I'm not anyone's backup plan. Her mom jumped in, accusing me of being cold. But I shook my head. People do change. And I have. I've learned that I deserve someone who chooses me first, not as an afterthought. You taught me that lesson, and I'm grateful for it. Jessica's face crumbled. For the first time, I think she truly understood that the door wasn't just closed. It was locked. Permanently. She left that day without another word. And I stood taller than I had in months. Because saying no wasn't just rejecting her. It was choosing myself. The real revenge wasn't dramatic. It wasn't shouting or chaos. It was quiet. Permanent. Jessica's family, once so vocal about her destiny, went silent. The friends who defended her true love story avoided her. Her social circle, embarrassed by how they'd championed her choices, cut her off. Eventually, Jessica moved away, trying to start over in another city. Her fairy tale ended as nothing more than whispers of shame. And me? My life flourished. Work promoted me. Twice. I became a lead on a major hospital renovation, then started training apprentices. I invested in myself, in my trade, and in a future that didn't rely on someone else's approval. Rebecca and I kept building something real. We started volunteering together, traveling for short trips, talking about a future home. One weekend, we went to a gardening center. I watched her as she carefully chose small herbs and flowers, her face intent, a small smile on her lips. "What do you think of a garden?" she asked. "Nothing too big. Just some tomatoes and basil." Small dreams, maybe, but they were real. Not fantasies, not destinies, just choices made together, and that made them priceless. Jessica thought she had found her perfect story, but life isn't about stories. It's about choices, and she chose wrong. Her destiny betrayed her. Mine saved me. The sweetest revenge isn't anger. It's living a life so full, so peaceful, that they realize too late they'll never be part of it again. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories of betrayal, karma, and redemption.